The Deep South's oldest rivalry, Georgia and Auburn, have been clashing since 1892. Dogs come off a tight win against unranked Missouri last week, riding a 5-game win streak against Auburn. Auburn blew a 17-point lead against LSU last week as the hot seat continues to get hotter for that man, Brian Harsin. And this won't help. Late first quarter, punting from their own 34 on 4th and 6. It's a fake, and they get stuffed. Questionable call from Harsin, and Georgia is going to take advantage. Ensuing Bulldogs drive. 3rd and goal, Stetson Bennett to Kenny McIntosh, and he's in. Georgia up 7-0, taking advantage. McIntosh, 3rd touchdown of the season. Next Georgia possession, Dejon Edwards in for the score, punches it in. 14-0 Dogs. Back-to-back games with a touchdown for Edwards, and he was done. Robbie Ashford trying to get the Tigers offense going. Ensuing Auburn drive, 3rd and 4, just over midfield. Up the middle, but he loses the football. Bulldogs recover. You can't have that. You can't be putting the football on the ground. Can't be having it. Clear path to the first down. 8 of 21, 60 yards, 2 fumbles for Ashford. Auburn with 16 fumbles this season. That leads FBS, down 14-0 at the half. As for Georgia's quarterback, Stetson Bennett, relatively quiet so far, but not anymore. First play of the 4th quarter, 64-yard touchdown scamper. Longest run of his career, the mailman delivers. Georgia up 28-3. Offensive line clearing the path. Next Georgia possession, it's all Dogs in the red zone. Edwards in for 6. 12 carries, 83 yards, a career-high 3 touchdowns for that young man. Georgia crushes Auburn 42-10. Their 6th straight win against the Tigers. Georgia starting 6-0 in back-to-back seasons for the first time since 2017 and 2018. The defending national champs bouncing back from a lackluster offensive performance last week. They hang 42 on the scoreboard thanks to a phenomenal rushing attack with 292 yards and 6 rushing touchdowns. And one of the men that had a rushing touchdown in this game, Stetson Bennett, post-game with our Sherry Burris.
Stetson, another installment of Auburn, Georgia. A dominant performance for you guys. How do you describe this game?
I don't know. I don't have those kind of words, but I felt, it felt like we weren't having fun in the first half. And then once we started having fun and just playing football, not worried about stuff and just going and executing, we started scoring more points, especially on offense. You
told us that your first start against Auburn 2 years ago, you were nervous, out there looking confident. Do you feel like there was any of those nerves coming into this one?
No, I don't think so. I don't know what it is. I think we got to talk and just figure out. We got to get our moxie back a little bit. But we'll figure that out this week.
Say, looking ahead, you guys win another SEC game. How does this propel you to what you guys have for your goals this year?
Yeah, it's Auburn, Georgia, right? 1896. It's historic. Always love playing these guys. Happy for the win. We're going to celebrate it, and then tomorrow on to Vandy.
All right, congratulations, Stetson. Thank you.
Dominating on the ground, Georgia nearly outrushed Auburn by 200 yards, 292-93. 6 rushing touchdowns, 4 different players with a rushing touchdown, including the quarterback Stetson Bennett, a 64-yarder as they improved to 6-0. Let's get right to the site, back out to Athens, where we welcome in the man who was on the call for this game, former college and NFL coach Rick Neuheisel. Rick, I know you appreciated that touchdown run by Stetson Bennett. The offensive line just opening up a sea for that young man.
Only in my dreams did I get to run that far. Yeah, maybe they blew the whistle and I just kept running, but no, fabulous. And that'll be the play that he'll watch. He'll watch those missed throws that he had down the field. He had Brock Bowers wide open, missed him. He'll be very critical of his own performance, although he went 15 for 19 in the second half, so he ought to ease up. But that run, he'll watch over and over, especially as he's an old man.
What did you see from the Dogs this week compared to last week when they escaped on the road against Missouri?
Well, there was more urgency to their attack in playing in front of a great home crowd. They were ready to play. But they really, the intermediate passing game wasn't there. They were really trying to take shots down the field. That's why they stalled out. I think they were 1 of 6 on 3rd down in the first half. But the run game, especially on the short field, started to show itself. And all those who were worried that Georgia had lost its identity as a running team, you can put those fears to bed. They end up with 292 yards against a really valiant Auburn defense.
Yeah, 6 rushing touchdowns in the game for the Dogs. Ridgely is really RBU there. Dejon Edwards with 3 of his own. If you're Auburn right now, what do you do right now? Because we've talked week in and week out about Brian Harsin being on the hot seat. What's the message here for Auburn? What should they do right now in the season?
Well, I said it at the end of the broadcast. It makes no sense to me to change course right now with coaches. It's just going to signal to the players that you're giving up on this year. Let's do something different, and you're looking towards the future. You've got a young quarterback in Robbie Ashford. He doesn't know the offense. He knows plays. And until he gets a feel for the offense and gets comfortable in the pocket like Bennett was comfortable in the pocket, he's not going to be there. But he's what you've got. TJ Finley and Calzada are down. So you've got to continue to work with him and not lose his confidence as you go forward in your season. If you can continue to tailor your offense so he understands, you can find a way to make this a representative season, get to a bowl game, and look forward to the future. If you then decide that you need to change course with your coaching staff, so be it. We're all big guys in this business. But to do that now just to get ahead or get up with these other schools that have made that decision, to me, would be a mistake, because you're going to lose a lot of young players that are believing in this coaching staff.
Auburn falls to 3-3. Georgia improves to 6-0, back-to-back 6-0 starts for the defending national champs there at home. Rick Neuheisel joining us post-game here on CBS Sports HQ. Rick, thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate the conversation there from Rick Neuheisel, who was on the call for Georgia and Auburn, and a 42-10 blowout. 500 total yards compared to 258. Nearly outgained them by 200 yards on the ground. 6 rushing touchdowns. Dejon Edwards, 12 carries for 83 yards and 3 touchdowns. And how about Stetson Bennett? A 64-yard touchdown run of his own. And Georgia just putting on a clinic. A much different looking offense this week compared to last week. And look, you go on the road and play at Missouri. SEC games on the road, they're tough for anybody. I mean, we've seen it. You know, it's a different atmosphere. Hostile. The SEC games are big time. So, you know, it's one week to the next. Kirby Smart had Georgia ready to go this week, and they take care of business as they win their 6th in a row in the Deep South's oldest rivalry. All right, let's continue the conversation. Welcoming 2-time Super Bowl champ, former Florida State standout Bryant McFadden, and CBS Sports HQ college football analyst Barrett Sallee. Barrett, we talked about this game on Friday, and we talked about how this game would look the way that you predicted it would look. It turned out to be a blowout. It was a little of a sloppy start. They were up 14-0 at halftime, and then they just it was all gas, no brakes in the second half. And you saw Stetson Bennett leading that rushing attack, helping them on the ground. But really a difference from last week compared to this week.
Yeah, I mean, this is the way that Georgia would like to play. Exert its power early, own the line of scrimmage early. It did both of those things, and then wear down an opponent. And when you're playing an opponent like Auburn that has nothing offensively, you're going to get a game like this. I thought Robbie Ashford did all he could. Tank Bigsby did all he could to keep this team in it, but some strange coaching decisions. The fake punt inside your own territory in the first half didn't make any sense. And so you let Georgia get to a point where they could wear you down, and that's exactly what happened. It was a statement win for Georgia. They never felt threatened by Auburn, and that's the kind of game they needed after what happened the last couple of weekends, because, I mean, obviously they were taken to the brink by Missouri, and the Kent State game was within 10 points in the second half. I mean, those two things are not supposed to happen. So this is Georgia football. It's what they were supposed to do. I think Stetson Bennett will look back at his performance and say, okay, the corrections he made at halftime worked because he was much more efficient in the second half. And so, yeah, I mean, this is what you need to see from Georgia. This is exactly what the doctor ordered.
Yeah, Barrett, you hit it right on the head. I mean, we saw a slow half in the first half for Georgia offensively, only scoring 14 points, and both opportunities came from, like you said, a fake punt gave them favorable field position and a nice punt return. But in the second half, we saw Georgia football at its best. In the first half, they were 1 of 6 on third down. Finished the game 6 of 14, so they improved dramatically. They ran the football well. They made big-time splash plays, and the defense just did what they did the entire ball game. So this is what we expect to see from Georgia's offense based on the performance in the second half. So hopefully we can see if they can kind of build upon what they did in the second half throughout the rest of their schedule to put together complete ball games, because Before today's matchup, well, before the second half, we kind of saw some slow starts from Georgia's offense over the last few weeks. But in the second half, they made big-time adjustments, and those adjustments paid off.
Yeah, Auburn has not been good handling the football, Barrett, as you mentioned, in terms of fumbles. They lead the FBS in fumbles lost and just not taking care of the football. And that's not necessarily what the defense is doing. We saw Robbie Ashford just drop one in an open field, and he heard footsteps from the Georgia defense. Now we're hearing whispers, and we've continued to hear whispers week in and week out. And we know what happened in the offseason. We thought maybe Brian Harsin would be on his way out. He comes back. They have an agreement. Barrett, you have your ears on the ground. You are an Auburn grad. You are close to that program. You know what's going on. We heard Rick Neuheisel say, let's not make a midseason change. What are you hearing? What's the feeling out of Auburn?
Well, they're going to make a midseason change. I don't think there's any doubt about that right now. And I think the thought process before the season was, look, let's see how this thing goes. We got 5 home games to open the season, and then, sort of reevaluate it from there. But there was a reluctance, I think, in the minds of some decision makers to do it midseason because, like Rick Neuheisel said in the previous segment, you're kind of abandoning the season on your seniors, and you don't want to do that. And the fact that there's not really a decision maker at Auburn right now hurts as well because Alan Green is on his way out in December, the athletic director. But as things have gone on, I think they've realized, okay, this is not going to work. It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. I think all eyes sort of pointed to the bye week after next week's game because really any coaching circle that you were going to swim in if you're Auburn really had nothing to do with the vacancies that were already out there until last Sunday night. And I'm not saying that Wisconsin and Auburn are in the same pool, but Auburn might want to talk to Dave Aranda. Auburn might want to talk to Matt Rule. I think Wisconsin's going to probably want to talk to those guys too. So now maybe you're in a position, if you are Auburn, 6 days ago, you didn't have to. Now maybe you do need to get out in front and start laying the groundwork for what could be an offseason coaching search that could go quickly if you get your right guy. So I do think he does get fired. If it's up to me, I think it was going to happen tomorrow around 2 o'clock Eastern time. If they have a reason to extend it, okay, maybe they wait and see what happens against Ole Miss leading into the bye week. But I don't think there's any doubt. Whether it's 8 days or just 1 day, Harsin's going to be gone midseason.
Yeah, and with that being said, Barrett, I feel the same way. Why wait? Why wait? It doesn't make any sense to force someone to drink, spoiled milk. No, just go ahead and do away with it. Put a new carton in the refrigerator. That's what they're doing right now. The fans, clearly, they have a bad taste in their mouth based on what they're seeing and based on who it's coming from in the head coach. Me personally, I never liked the hire anyway. I was so confused about why make this particular hire when you look at where he's coming from, demographically speaking, and then going into a situation where it's night and day. It just never fit. It never seemed to fit at all. And now we're starting to see a bad display of football week in and week out. You look at the remainder of the schedule, it's not going to get any easier, especially when you tap into SEC play, especially in the West as well. And right now, I just don't see any improvements. That's the thing. If we were watching Auburn football and we saw small glimpses of improvement here or there, then you have a reason to feel optimistic that the players are buying into what he is selling. They're not buying into anything. And because of that, we continue to see a huge drop-off, a letdown from their ball club on both sides of the football. So I think go ahead and pull the trigger. If you feel like it's going to happen at some point in time, it doesn't make any sense to wait till the end of the year.
BMAC, how about we go out and get Deion Sanders? What are your thoughts on that? What, Barry? Right? Right. What do we? Is that who would be a leading candidate to take that job, BMAC?
Me personally, and I would like to hear Barrett's sentiments on this. I don't know how good a job this is right now. That's the thing.
I mean, it's in the SEC.
They will,
that's a premium.
But it is in the SEC, but just Auburn specifically speaking, right? How good a job is Auburn right now? And if you're Deion Sanders, do you want to go into that situation not knowing exactly who the AD is going to be? We don't know exactly which direction they will go in regards to that hire. And 9 times out of 10, the AD is the one who hires the head coach. I mean, in professional football, the GM is like the AD in college football. The head coach and the GM is hand in hand. So if you prime and if you have the pick of the litter, to say the least, when it comes to options that might be available, how good a job is Auburn right now?
Well, B-Mac, I think it's a great job. And here's the thing with Auburn. It's dysfunctional, right? There are too many chefs in the kitchen, too many decision makers, all that other stuff. The thing is, it works. At least in the minds of those decision makers, it does work because 2017, they won the West. 2013, they were 13 seconds away from winning a national title. 2010, they won a national title. 2004, they went undefeated. 93, they went undefeated. So in sort of a backwards way, it does work in their minds, and they will give you the resources as long as you play ball with those decision makers. So look, Brian Harsin was an outsider. The problem isn't that Brian Harsin was an outsider. It's that he was an outsider that those people, those chefs, didn't pick. If they find somebody that is an outsider that those guys like, maybe like a Deion Sanders who will play ball with them a little bit, then I think it would work. Now, look, I would love to see how that conversation goes. If Deion and Auburn gets talking, that would be quite interesting. But I think if they can find somebody who is willing to play that ball game, play the administration ball game a little bit, it'll go a long way and provide more resources and support so they can win a national championship, because it has happened before, obviously. So to me, I would make a call to Lane Kiffin, right? For several reasons. One, he's a king of a transfer portal. And right now, Auburn needs dudes. They don't have the dudes. They need players. Lane can go get them. Two, he's an offensive genius, clearly, like we just saw against Georgia and Missouri and Penn State and everybody else. Offense is a problem. And then three, there's the ego thing. Yes, Lane gets to play Alabama every year. He gets to play Nick Saban every year. Would he want to play Nick Saban every year in the biggest rivalry in college football? That is a different animal, especially when Auburn has the resources that can let them win a national championship, lead them to a national championship, as opposed to Ole Miss, which probably is not there yet. So I would make the call to Lane. I'd say, Lane, do you want it? And if he says no, I'd say, okay, here's some more cash. And if he says no again, I just start unloading the Brinks truck at his house and say, dude, take whatever you want. You know, it's yours. And if that happens, then I think Auburn will be all right.
Well, for now, Lane Train is avoiding upset from the Fighting Barton Simmons at Vanderbilt. So at least he was able to survive today. Brian Harsin not able to survive against Georgia, a 42-10 beatdown at Sanford Stadium there in Athens, Georgia. And it's the sixth straight win for Georgia in the Deep South's oldest rivalry. Brian McFadden, Barrett Bilsili here on CBS Sports HQ. Thank you, man. And hey, for all things covered, check out Brian McFadden on his podcast with Patrick Peterson, Vikings Corner, talking to some of the greatest names in sports and entertainment. It's entertaining, it's engaging, all things covered. Download and subscribe today.
Do you want a sports network that delivers everything that matters about the game? The highlights, the picks, the instant analysis, no yelling, no fake debates, no politics. Hit the subscribe button and never miss a moment.